organizing these protests and rallies to talk about our basic human rights. The measure of success here is if I see y'all on the days when nothing like this is happening. We have to come together so that we can fight them effectively. Because it might seem like these are different issues, but it's the same people and the same system on the other side and the same money on the other side trying to hold us all down.
Right? America was never great, but it can be. Do you agree with that? Yeah. We're not a great nation when a 16-year-old girl on a train can be assaulted, verbally harassed, just because she is Muslim. That does not make us great. Do you agree? Yes. We are not a great nation when families across this country are having their homes and their businesses vandalized, broken into, robbed, and spray painted with racial slurs. This does not make us great. Do you agree? Yes. We are not a great country when a seven-year-old little boy on a school bus right here in North Carolina is beaten up because he is Muslim. That does not make us great. Do you agree? We are not a great country when Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, taxi drivers, business owners are being harassed and beaten because they look Muslim. That does not make us great. Do you agree? I said America was never great, but it can be. Do you agree?
We are here to let you know that we have been and remain in solidarity with you all in opposition to Islamophobia. We denounce extremist groups who promote hate and fear-mongering under the veil of standing up for human rights, who demonize and criminalize entire religions, black people, brown people, immigrants, native peoples, LGBTQ folk, but yet refuse to take a stand against white supremacy. UE150 submitted a resolution to condemn racist attacks against Muslims and more wars at our recent Eastern Region meeting in late April, and I want to read that resolution to you now. Whereas since the election of President Trump, there have been an increase in the amount of racist violence directed towards mosques and Muslims in the community and in the workplace. Whereas Trump has issued 2 executive orders ordering that Muslims from 7 countries be banned from entering the country, even with a green card, and refusing entry of refugees from Muslim-majority countries. Whereas Community Mosque of Winston-Salem was threatened during a meeting in Kernersville, North Carolina, calling them the terrorists next door and threatening racist violence against Imam Griggs. Whereas Trump and the U.S. government used racist attacks against Muslims as a means to justify ongoing wars, drones, and bombings in the Middle East, including recent bombings of Afghanistan and Syria. Whereas 3 Muslim UNC students were shot and killed by a racist in Chapel Hill in 2015. Murdered. Whereas UNC Chapel Hill is the recipient of the largest grant for Muslim surveillance, CVE, by the Department of Homeland Security. Whereas anti-BDS bill to punish Palestine liberation, House Bill 161, and a similar bill to punish the movement for Black Lives, SB 329, has been introduced in the North Carolina General Assembly and other similar bills in state legislatures across the U.S. Therefore, be it resolved that UE Eastern Region is resolved that whenever any of our Muslim sisters and brothers or any people of faith are practicing their faith in their workplace or community, we will rally our members to support their fight for their right to practice their faith freely within a safe environment in their workplace and community and without discrimination. Further be it resolved, UE Eastern Region vows to work to continue to build local people's assembly and work with organizations that fight against racism directed towards Muslims. Further be it resolved, UE Eastern Region redoubles our effort to build an anti-war movement to challenge racist wars in our workplaces and in our communities. This resolution passed overwhelmingly and will be submitted at our national membership, at our upcoming national convention in August. We must stand together and be vigilant in our fight against racism and discrimination. We have no choice. We know that if they come for you in the morning, they'll come for us at night. It's the only way that we can survive and thrive. Power to the people!
After the tragic murders in Chapel Hill in 2015 that were just mentioned and the stabbings in Portland the other week, we know Islamophobia is real on an interpersonal level. In the wake of drone attacks, Muslim bans, and destabilization of Muslim-majority countries, we know Islamophobia is real on a systemic level as well.
After 9/11, it became clear that things were drastically changing. Students began to ask me questions like, is Osama bin Laden your uncle? And I wasn't the only one. They used it as a teasing method. And I didn't know it at the time. But for me, this was the beginning of my experiences with racism. We're here in a response to an anti-Muslim hate group that is using the actions of extremists to promote hatred and Islamophobia in up to 29 cities across the nation. The impact that this organization has on our communities is extremely, extremely detrimental. Not only for Muslims, but people who can be perceived as Muslim, or as you said, people who look Muslim. We are here today to stand against hate. We are here today to stand against injustice.
I'm happy that we're here together in defending our Muslim brothers and sisters against prejudice, violence, and hate. Our brothers and sisters are being wrongly targeted in this current environment of racial prejudice and media stereotype. This stereotype is extending to Central Asians, South Asians, Filipino Americans, along with Latinos, Arabs, and Muslim Americans. Our civil rights are being violated by those who are making no distinction between known terrorists and people of color who are being perceived, like earlier has been said, that look like them. There's precedents of this hatred and violence towards Asian Americans. If we remember the atrocities against the Chinese laborers in the early 1900s, and our Japanese American brothers and sisters during internment camps in 1942.
La supremacía blanca sigue haciendo su trabajo.
White supremacy continues to make a job out of.
Sigue satanizando, demonizando y criminalizando las comunidades.
Demonizing, devilizing, and dehumanizing our communities.
Tal como lo hizo hace años con el esclavismo.
Exactly like it has done since slavery.
Para justificar todas las barbaridades que hicieron con los esclavos.
To justify all of the barbarities that they enacted on slaves.
Promoviendo que no tenían sentimientos, que no eran humanos o que no tenían alma.
Saying that they had no soul, no life in order to justify this.
Para de este modo mantener controlados tanto a los esclavos como a la gente que pudiera preguntarse si esto era justo.
And in this way, to keep the enslaved and to be able to tell that other people are wrong and that this is justified.
Hoy en día nos presentan el mismo discurso, nos presentan comunidades terroristas, comunidades que son narcotraficantes o violadores.
Today, they tell us the same thing. They tell us that our communities are terrorists, that they are drug traffickers or violators.
Nuevamente, la misma táctica de deshumanizarnos.
New leap, but the same tactic of dehumanizing us.
Para poder justificar el dolor de nuestros niños, la separación de nuestras familias.
They say this in order to justify the suffering that our children endure and the suffering that our families endure from being separated.
Y no solamente en los Estados Unidos, pero en otros países.
And not only in the US, but in other countries as well.
Podemos ver a nuestros países despojados, ultrajados.
We can see our countries impoverished and violated.
y sufriendo de otras tantas violaciones de sus derechos humanos.
and suffering from many other violations of human rights.
En nombre de la paz y la independencia de los pueblos.
In the name of peace and independence.